that we have. So to solve a problem, first go to the root of problem. That's where we talk about analysis of variance. In ANOVA, statistical measure actually, it's called ANOVA, analysis of variance. And then it is also about how varied, how different it is your current product with respect to how it should be. So that's a statistical quality control, quality assurance, testing, all of these again come into picture. So how do you really go to the problem, root of the problem? You actually do a lot of different tools and techniques. You can use fishbone. You can actually use the root cause analysis. That's what is called fishbone, right? So you actually identify the main problem. To get to the main problem, you look at what kind of materials, what's the manpower required, what's the kind of money involved, how are the different processes that are really shaping up to this one, what kind of tasks are involved. So that's what you do. Again, 5 whys, again, to get the root of the problem really helps. So that's what you try and do to come up with the analysis of this, and you come up with some kind of indicative measures to say that you're really in the right direction, or you're going a different tangent. So, and then once you do that analysis, you know pretty much where do you want to go, right? So you know the difference, you actually know where you want to go, which is the baseline, and then where you are at the moment. So which is what is the actual. So the difference, the delta between those would actually tell you what you need to do, how you need to improve, how much you need to improve, what are the different steps you need to take to get to that desired state. So that's the next step in order to improve. And for that, you need to come up with the with how you can implement the solution. What are the different ways to come up with that? How you can prioritize the specific problems. Again, going back to the scoping and the prioritization presentation that we had. Elaborate and specify in greater detail. We need to actually say that in, not just saying that I want to improve this process, but actually how do you want to go about doing that? You want to deploy, you want to remove the waste. There's a lot of waste currently in the process. There's a lot of waiting time. Testers are waiting for the build to be sent to them by the developers, for instance. So how can you eliminate that? You can actually eliminate by actually having the testers, occupied by having the test plans. They can actually work on the test plans, on the test cases, even before the development team need to complete, because they're 2 different things. So based on the requirement, the testers can actually kind of start working on creating the test plans and the test cases. They don't have to wait for the build to do that. But once the build is ready, then they can apply these test cases, and they can actually execute the tests to come up with the results. So that's how you can actually reduce the waiting time, the waste in the process, right? So that's one way of approaching. That's one way to detail out how you want to address the problem. And you can create different options. There's no one size fits all. You can actually come up with, depending on the situation, depending on the need, you can come out with different options, different ideas to address the problems that you have. So you can engage the team and have brainstorming, brainwriting, you can encourage all kinds of different, kind of these workshops, these kind of techniques and tools to come up with ways and means to solve and address those problems. So that's the whole idea of having this improvement. And is it just enough to do improvement, coming up with ideas? You need to implement them, right? So that's where you need to implement them and see whether they're working or not. And that's the next step, to see whether the results are in the right way or not. So you need to continuously assess these results and seeing, based on the outcomes, are we in the right track? Are they leading us to where we should go or where we want to go, right? So that's the whole idea about making it sustainable. So again, control is all about that, making sure that this is actually not just done in 2 weeks' time or 3 weeks' time, but how can we do it in the next 5 sprints, next 10 sprints? How can we kind of institutionalize this and internalize this across all the teams, not just one team? So that's the whole idea about having the control mechanism in place. So you need to continuously assess on a periodic basis, every month, or every sprint. At the end of every sprint, make sure that the team is aware of what should be done, where they are in the context of this, and then take steps to make sure that they are in line with the expectations. So control is a continuous process. It's not one-time activity. Again, like what we were doing, planning is a continuous process as much as control is. So these are 2 ends of the same coin, if you say. So you plan, you do something, you control whether you can understand whether your plans are working, and then make sure that the outcome and the output is actually routed back to the planning. So planning and control both have to go hand